Travis Wayne Goodsell. It was the end of the world for us here. Power outage. All of Salt Lake County was affected. And then the northwestern section had a few people. So what's going to happen when it gets hotter and hotter and hotter? So, since my Amazon book that I did years ago still is picking up a few here and there, the Chronology of the Latter-day Events, I thought I'll do one for YouTube again. So I've done it in other formats and styles, but we'll do it here. So in order to understand correctly, you've got to put everything into context, and you've got to use the science. Can't dismiss the science for your own personal religious biases. And so we need to establish in Scripture a star date to work from. Because just telling us there's going to be a latter days, people have been claiming latter days for 2,000 years. And even in our lifetime, Mormons, for example, keep generation after generation, is it our generation? And then other people say, no, it's not going to be our generation, it's going to be our grandchildren's 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 generation. Well, we're in it. How do I know? Well, because John in Revelation gives us actual precise dates for the beginning and the end. And so Revelation 12 is 2017 and 2024. So a 7-year period of time. Hold on again. And so with these two dates, the beginning and the end date, we're now able to put everything in between and check for confirmation using science to test. And so when you've got sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven, that sounds like it's pretty general until you realize within the time frame we have a what's called tetrad. And as I discovered, the tetrad isn't just lunar eclipses. It's solar, lunar, and falling stars. And so we had one outside of the boundaries before. And so we could call it the pre-show, as I've called it, or part of the latter days to make it 10 years instead of 7. Because 2014, 2015, we had a actual tetrad that fell on Jewish holy days to start us off with. And so the 15th of April, 2014, Passover. 29th of April, 2014, solar eclipse. 8 October 2014 was Sukkot. 23rd October 2014, solar eclipse. 20 March 2015 was the first of Nisan. 4th of April 2015, Passover. That was conference morning on that Saturday. That's when I realized we were in a tetrad. And then, this is important, Mormons, as Joseph Smith has designated his church to be the one for the fulfillment of biblical prophecy, as we are designated as Latter-day Saints. It is crucial to understand and look for anything that has to do with this church. And so, during this tetrad, boom, 5th of May 2015, L. Tom Perry bites the big one. 3rd July 2015, President Packer bites the big one. And with his death, and Perry's death. I think Scott has to die too, wasn't it? Because Nelson takes over as president of the 12. Monson's Quorum of 12. Oh, this was 2018. We don't want that. 2014. Let's do that. We'll look at the Wikipedia page for list of apostles, Wikipedia, LDS. List of members of the Quorum of 12. Chronology. And scroll down to the 2010s. Okay. Yep. Yeah, they even have it listed here. Boyd K. Packer dies. Russell M. Nelson becomes president of the Quorum, set apart on 15 July. So Scott was younger in rank. And so then you have another solar eclipse. 9/13/2015, September 13th. This is now the year 5776. And then Scott, 6 days before the deadline. Now, why is it the deadline? Why does it have to be 3? Because Revelation chapter 12, you have 12 stars on the crown of the woman's head. That's the 12 apostles. But Leo on the crown of the Virgo's head only is designated by 9 stars. So 3 planets, considered stars from our distance on Earth, needs to be in conjunction with Leo for that sign. And sure enough, Mercury, Mars, and Venus were those 3 planets. And so that's, again, Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. Signs in the heaven in the likeness of things on the earth. So 3 need to be added, which means 3 have to die. And there you have it, all getting set up for 2017's 23rd September sign from Revelation chapter 12. And so, yes, it only applies to the Mormon church. No other church, just the Mormon church. Joseph Smith was right on target. Dear God. And Mormons call me anti. You're anti. And so then the final one, September 28th, 2015 on Sukkot. The Festival of Harvest, the Tabernacles, etc. And then Passover. I mean, that's what it's all about. The man like Moses. Mormons are supposed to see this and go, it starts on Passover. The Mormon like Moses, our Christ. You do know this, right? You've been watching my channel, right? This is not new to you, right? See, Joseph Smith quotes or is quoted from Acts. That Acts passage is a quote from Deuteronomy 18:15 through 18 about a future man like Moses. And it's all over scriptures. I did a scripture video chain of all of them. And so 2nd Nephi chapter 3. Nephi, or Joseph Smith, is attached to this as well. He's the founder of the Mormon church, and then the Last Days Mormon. And so Joseph Smith in section 103 verse 16 is quoted as, therefore I will raise up unto my people Mormons, a man who shall lead them like as Moses led the children of Israel out of bondage. This is the latter-day Exodus. As Moses had an Exodus, there will be a latter-day Exodus. This is all part of the events of the latter days. And he's Mormon, and he's our Christ, as Joseph Smith is told. That man, that prophet, was Christ. So it's not Jesus. That's not the learning of the Jews. We are the learning of the Jews. We are the prophecy fulfillers of the Bible. And all other scriptures associated with it. And so you have to replace every scripture that has a character of a different name so that you decode the scripture. And so Jesus, all through the Gospels, you put this Mormon in there. Because they're not literal history. Joseph Smith is giving you the key to decoding the scriptures. Messianic literature, prophecy of the latter days. Learning of the Jews. And so this is what it's telling you right here with Passover starting this off. Is that the man like Moses, he's here, he's coming, it's time. And so that's why that is important. Alright, so next. The Book of Mormon tells us in the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah, we're going to have a coup of a presidency over in America. We know this because the solar eclipses in 2017 and 2024 are crossing America. X marks the spot for the latter days. So it's not Jerusalem. It is not Ukraine. It is right here in America. And so the Book of Mormon has that Revelation 12 sign in it, in the first chapter of 1 Nephi. As I've been going over with you. And so we're going to have a fraudulent election where a foreign government will put their puppet on the throne of America. That is the prophecy of the Book of Mormon. It is no other explanation. It is not literal history. It is the learning of the Jews, as it itself tells us. Verse 2. And so, who is this country? It actually codes it for us. Because Lehi leaves, there's an Exodus, 600 years from the first year, when Lehi leaves Jerusalem, in the story. It's all coded, and so 600 years from the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah is 597 to 4 AD, or CE correctly, using science terminology. And as Mormons, we think, oh, well, it's on 6th of April, even though it's supposed to be 1 CE, Travis. Well, no, you're denying the Book of Mormon. And so you get your Urim and Thummim out, you look in the heavens for the sign in the heavens, and lo and behold, 8 April 4 CE, there's a solar eclipse. And so 20 years later, 2024, there's the third day of darkness over America, crossing the first one. And the location is where Zion is supposed to be built. Not Independence. 19 July 1840, Joseph Smith corrects Mormons who are believing that it's Independence that we're going to for the latter days to build Zion. Says, nope, you guys are wrong. Mountain cities, southern Illinois. Mountain cities. This is why I do the videos that I do. I can't give you long explanation, spending days covering every single detail of this. I have to do partials of all this. And so that's why I keep repeating things in just different formats and different titles for the video. And so, yeah, in 4 CE, it was over Russia. The Smiths knew the plan of the enemy to make it Russia putting their president on the throne of America. And yeah, bingo, how accurate it was. Book of Mormon's true. How about that, ex-Mormons? Nah, nah, nah. And yeah, Mormons, yeah, they don't believe, right? You don't believe the Book of Mormon's true, even though I just showed you a confirmation. And so, man, the power going out caused the place to heat up, and with the allergies, made it worse. So, I mean, this place is supposed to have solar power. What the hell are power outages happening here for? They did not do a good job. And the church is in charge of this building, too. They're on the board of directors, and they're purposely tanking this place to make it more inhumane for us to live in. Nonetheless, and notwithstanding. So, 2016 election, presidential election. It's a fraudulent election, rigged. Oh, look at that. Russia was doing advertisements on YouTube or Facebook and other platforms as well, but Cambridge Analytica had sold it to Russia. That big scandal that occurred, sure enough. Wow. And I've gone over with you how psychology is involved in that fraud, and because psychology is a fake science, they're not real. It's a pseudoscience in the professional realm. Nobody gives them any credibility, and yet our government is. They're making them drug pushers to harm people, destroy people's lives. First responders after a school shooting. Dear God. But yeah, they're the cause of the dichotomous battles that we have. Because you divide and conquer, right? And so when the Tea Party came into the GOP, that was to divide and conquer the GOP. And they couldn't do it, and so now MAGA has successfully done it. But with the liberals, you have the progressives that came in, and they're waning now. So, alrighty. So, next. Then you have the first day of darkness, the solar eclipse. Now for that one, you have 3 days that are talked about. Gospels have 3 hours. That's something to pay attention to. So instead of days, it's hours. But the same concept, same symbolism. There's 3 separate events, because they usually last for about an hour anyway. And so you're talking about 3 separate solar eclipses lasting about an hour on 3 separate days. And so depending on the story you're telling, yeah. So, so the Exodus has 3 days, Book of Mormon has 3 days, Gospels have 3 hours. To find out the date, you need to know Egyptian. That would help. And the Egyptian calendar. But if you didn't know that, then you'd need to know astronomy. And Samson. Because Samson in Paleo Hebrew, as I've gone over with you, as I'm the decipherer of Paleo Hebrew, it's made up of the word for sun in Hebrew, which is Shemesh. The N at the end is a suffix determinative. For persons, it's king. Places, it's kingdom. So sun king. And you're experiencing deaths. So like the eclipses from the tetrad of 2014, 2015, and the 3 deaths, you're looking for a solar eclipse. And the first death in the stories about Samson is him killing a young lion. So the solar eclipse is going to be in the lion constellation of Leo. And sure enough, 21st of August 2017, in that first year of the reign of King Zedekiah. And that's the new year of the ancient Egyptian religious calendar, which varies year to year on our calendar. It's not the same date every year. Like our New Year's is always January 1st. Theirs fluctuates because it's a different system. Their civil calendar matches ours, sort of, but it's, 365 days and so forth. Slight modifications. And so the religious calendar, to have the solar eclipse on New Year's, you need to know the story of the latter days of the Egyptians. Osiris, the first good king of Egypt, murdered by his brother Set. Horus is conceived by Isis, the wife of Horus, or Osiris, flees into the wilderness, Revelation 12, and he's born, raised, taught in the ways of running the kingdom, gets his temple endowment, and when he's old enough to take the throne, he goes back to Egypt, the second coming, and battles Set for the throne. And right at the very beginning, Set plucks out his right eye. Solar eclipse. And so on New Year's, solar eclipse is the prophecy. Ta-da! And Samson knew this as well because the young lion, it's in Leo. And it's the first day of darkness that covers America, because that's where the land is. So the Egyptians knew this. Solar eclipses, if you know the date, you know the place on Earth. That's how precise astronomy is as a science. The ancient Egyptians knew this. And we're not talking 3,000 when they knew this. That story predates the records that we currently have available to us. That means before this, many millennia, they knew this. So, and then there's Salem's all along that route. Cities called Salem. Not a coincidence. Lots of people know all about this. Mormons are the ones who are being kept in the dark. And it's all about Mormons. That's the sad reality of all this, is that it's about Mormons and Mormon church, and yet Mormons are the only people on the face of the earth who are in the dark on this. Christians too, but yeah. And so, yeah. It was also Monson's birthday, 21st of August. And it was when he was on his deathbed. And so there's the prophecy of the false prophet. But before we get to that, we have the date of the birth that everybody knew, and everybody's talking about it. Isaiah talks about it. A sign, a virgin, Emmanuel, sun god, not God with us, sun god. And then you have Matthew chapter 2. After talking about it in chapter 1, he then gives us 23rd September 2017. On this wise, Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Utah. It's the start of the latter days. The Christ is replacing Jesus. Right? And so the Mormon Christ begins 23rd September 2017 in Utah. Phonetically the same as Judah. Blows my mind. Because Mormons had nothing to do with the name. So I don't know if that was just a happy additional coincidence. But regardless, it's there in Matthew, and it came to pass. Because everything has to do with the Mormons. And so 23rd September 2017 is Revelation chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 5. Joseph Smith translation moves it to verse 3. And that's in the Book of Mormon too. Chapter 1 of 1 Nephi. That's the sign that Lehi sees in his dream. And so, the first year of reign of King Zedekiah, the king takes the throne in January. And so, then you have, on that same day, what happened on Earth. Well, Monson designated the Relief Society to hold their bi-yearly meetings and join them to conference that October. And so the September 23rd was the Women's Conference. Monson made it part of General Conference. And the brand new called Relief Society president from April now takes over the throne, and she's giving her first conference on that Saturday. And she was the primary president, becoming the Relief Society president. So the one in charge of babies is now the one in charge of women. And the designation between a virgin and a woman is whether or not you've had babies. You're still a virgin until you've had babies. That's understood prior to our modern times, where other things tend to deflower a woman. No. You're still a virgin, girls. Still a virgin. Don't let the great and abominable church fool you. They want to put you in sexual bondage. And not in the good way. I don't... No. Anyway. Moving on. But yeah, the Egyptians, they had a sexual body part in every single sentence. Every sentence they said was something sexual. Hilarious. So facsimile number 2, the hypocephalus. There's a half a dozen peni in that facsimile. Hilarious. And critics only point out 1 or 2 of them. You guys need to learn Egyptian. There's more. So, it's part of the language. Sex ed is part of the language. Alright, so now the 23rd September from Revelation 12 and other passages is taken care of. Even Samuel says there's a birth sign and a death sign. That's what he's referring to, the birth sign. So 3rd Nephi chapter 1. Hey! 23rd September 2017. So you can see how the Book of Mormon knew about this. Almost as if it's not literal, that someone else wrote it, who was a Jewish mystic, meaning initiates of the temple, washing and anointing, not secrets, evil, no. No, Greek word mysterion. So Joseph Smith Sr., as I've gone over with you. And so William Morgan is the one who knew all about this and told it to Joseph Smith, and Joseph Smith knew from Jewish mysticism and blah blah blah. Bada boom, bada boom. Alright, so then Revelation has two other signs, and the one about the red dragon, that is 17 December 2017. That's the 5th dark day of Hanukkah. And I refer you to Adam Sandler for the Hanukkah song, which is just a list of those who are Jews. O.J. Simpson, not a Jew. So, and so that was fulfilled. I didn't catch any event on Earth for that one, but I did catch the sign in the heavens for it. And then there's the next one, the tail of the dragon, falling stars from the tail of the dragon. There are several dragons, numerous dragons up in space, but there's one particular dragon whose tail has every year the 3rd largest meteor showers on Earth. The quadrantid meteor showers in the first week of January, every single year. And so, January 2nd, during a super moon, and yes, I did the video tying prophets' deaths to solar and lunar eclipses. And so yes, at the blue moon for that month, the super blood blue wolf moon extravaganza, it was everything thrown into it. And so yes, a wolf moon, wolves in sheep's clothing, great and abominable church, it's amazing. But yeah, who died at 10:01 p.m.? Monson. And Nelson then instantly takes over because Brigham Young set it up that way. Even though history in the beginning was like several years apart. But that was because they were in jail or prison at the time. So it made it kind of difficult to present them to the church. So, yeah, the quadrantid meteor showers and the super blood blue moon, wolf moon, on the 31st. Then there have been other signs, and it's important to understand that the Book of Mormon knew about this as well, because in 3rd Nephi, chapter 2, it says in verse 1, "And it came to pass that thus passed away the 95th year also, and the people began to forget those signs and wonders." How many of you even remembered the total solar eclipse? Oh yeah, I was at such and such a place when that happened. Yeah, you have to be reminded. You've forgotten. You've moved on with your life. Other things have come up that have distracted you from it. And 23rd September, unless you saw my videos, you had no clue. Especially the dragon sign and Monson's death sign. Unless you were watching my videos, you were clueless, and YouTube made sure to keep you in the dark. That's the whole thing about this, is that the church are making sure you don't know any of this. So when the tetrad occurred and the prophets died, Monson came out and said, "No, Mormons, this is not the latter days." He lied to you. And as a result, there were those who didn't believe Monson and formed their own church and became a goddess and a god waiting for Jesus to come and slaughtering their children, thinking they're zombies, and are now in the Idaho court, hopefully getting the electric chair for what they did. Yeah, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. That's what happened to them. He had believed that that was part of the signs, and he was correct. But when Monson came out and denounced them, you know, God. And they committed adultery in order to murder their spouses, and it's like they never even read the story about King David. Then they go and kill their children because they're zombies. It's a zombie apocalypse. Dead rising from the grave, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Ghostbusters. And so they begin to be less and less astonished at a sign or a wonder. Prophecy fulfilled, Mormons. Good job. Because there have been tons last year, and we're still getting them this year, as I'm still seeing them. They're teaching moments, is what these kinds of signs are. Not necessarily an event on earth that occurs, but they're teaching us, hey, this is it, we're still in it. Don't forget, we're not finished yet. Still have till 8 April 2024, then we're finished. And so, yes, their Mormons are led astray by the power of the devil, and deceive the hearts of Mormons, and Satan did give possession of their hearts of the Mormons again. Blind their eyes away from believing in the doctrine of the true Mormon, who's their Christ, and believing in Jesus instead of the Christians. And so, there's that for that. Now guess what we're in since 2021? As we're having signs in the heavens, we're having the sun darkened, we're having the moon turn to blood, we're having stars fall from heaven. Yeah, we're in a tetrad again. This time, it's taken it right down to the last wire, as we're expecting the fall of the Great and Abominable Church. That's also supposed to happen within this time frame. Can't have Zion if the Great and Abominable Church is still reigning supreme on the face of the earth. Paying Russia to cause the war in Ukraine. Paying China through getting the states to pay China for PPE that gets confiscated by Jared at the airport. So they have to spend more money for PPE through other sources that they should have done in the first place. Why everybody was buying from China is bizarre, beyond me. You know, that's great that China has billions of people to provide billions of dollars for your company, but if they're the evil empire, one of the evil empires, you just ban their products. And so, yeah, anyway. The next event is this tetrad. And so we're wondering if there's going to be another deaths. In other words, this would be it. The fall of the Great and Abominable Church. It has to happen. It's prophesied to happen. And the Great and Abominable Church is even preparing to destroy itself so that they can rise again, brand new, getting rid of Jesus, getting rid of the Book of Mormon, getting rid of Joseph Smith. And Lucifer reigns supreme. That's their goal for their Zion. So they don't want to just destroy everything. They want to start over pure doctrine of Lucifer, as Albert Pike talked about in his letter to Giuseppe Mazzini. And so the fall isn't just the fall. They're hoping to rise again, brand new, and doing away with the abominable Christ and Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. And Mormons don't get this. They think it's going to endure because they've got the priesthood still. No, it died with Joseph, guys. Great and Abominable Church took over, just like Seth murdered his brother and had no authority to run the church. So, after this, next year, we have October 14th, 2023, an annular eclipse. Now we know this because Samson again. The second death in Samson involved two people, the father and the daughter. The daughter was the first wife of Samson. They were burned by the Philistines. And so you'd expect that the solar eclipse would be in Virgo. Sure enough, next year it's in Virgo. That's why it's amazing. The writer of Samson was telling us the 3 days of darkness dates. He knew that, and he's telling them in story form for this. And so 8 April 4 CE is also confirmed with the story of Abraham going to the top of the mountain to sacrifice Isaac. And a messenger appears, which is Mercury, and a ram. Aries. Yeah, the one over Russia was in Aries constellation, just as that story talks about. And Book of Mormon does refer to it, but not in connection with the 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. Okay, so yeah, next year Virgo. Okay, then the final one, the death one. Everybody's waiting for this one. The birth was a big one, but the death is the biggest one. That's where the Gospels says it's a cross, not a T or a post. And that's important to understand, because the Roman practice was the post. And yet Christians believe that it's literal history, and they want to change history because of this. It is not history. It is messianic literature and the learning of the Jews, prophesying of the latter days, giving us dates when all this is going to occur. And so it's a cross because of the death sign that crosses 21st of August 2017, 8 April 2024. And the one on 21st of August went over Adam on Diamond in Independence, Missouri. Adam on Diamond is the kingdom of the Danites that I've been going over with you. That was their mocking headquarters. It caused the election fraud, started the Mormon War, got Joseph locked up in Liberty Jail, as they then cooed the church of the leadership. Brigham Young took over the presidency of the 12 by having the Danites kick out Thomas B. Marsh, etc. And that's all part of their symbolic plan, is type and shadows. We're doing it here, we're going to do it in the future. Same pattern. They're not changing anything at all. And so yes, 2020, January 6th, or in 2021, the election from 2020, yeah, it's right there in the Book of Mormon. What did you think the Captain Moroni story was about? If it's not literal history, it's talking about something. And so Captain Moroni, title of liberty, goes back to Zarahemla to deal with the king men who want to put a king on the throne and overthrow the constitution of the laws of Mosiah. They want a king, not judges. And so, thus the battle. And where were Mormons? Oh, they were helping to put the king on the throne and are getting arrested for seditious conspiracy. So, 8 April 2024, over the farm and Kirtland, Ohio, and Batavia. My Urim and Thummim uses Batavia as the identifier. It doesn't have Kirtland, and it doesn't have Manchester or Canandaigua even, but it has Batavia. So that's where I'm able to get my picture from. And then Samson has it as well. It's his death. And so you'd think that it would be in Aries. No. It's Jupiter, who is the sun born of Virgo, who is in Aries. The death sign, the death constellation. But the solar eclipse is in his actual birth constellation of Pisces. The 2 fishes and the 5 loaves of bread, you didn't think that was literal history, did you? Exactly, those are birth dates. The 2 fishes are his actual birth date in Pisces. And then the 5 loaves, the star of Bethlehem, Spica, in Virgo. at the womb area. So when planets pass that, or the sun and the moon pass that, it's a birth. The moon today had passed that line and was born as a new moon, after being a new moon. It's now growing to become a full moon. It just gave birth, Virgo gave birth to the new moon that is now growing, and it's like a couple days old. And so that's what Matthew is talking about, etc. And so that's where the eclipse is, on the back of the white horse. Revelation 19. Is the solar eclipse. Angel standing in the sun. The angel is the moon. And that's the final. And so Jupiter right now, he's on the back of the white horse. We missed the Exodus. Way to go, Mormons. And so the first Exodus of Lehi didn't happen, because that's what they were referring to, is 20 years apart from April 4 AD and 2024 AD. That's when the Exodus is supposed to occur, because Lehi leaves Jerusalem. And that's 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. That's what they're trying to tell us, is that's when the Exodus was supposed to occur. And I did the videos all about that. You had the creeping death that occurred that year, and you had the drought, and I was so disappointing that I couldn't convince anybody. But yeah, we missed it. And so that's what we're looking for now. So the day that shall burn as an oven, from Malachi. Yep, that's what's coming next year, because you have climate change that's also involved, and then you get 3rd Nephi 11, and no temple this time. It's not built. We didn't go in 2020 to build it, when we didn't have the Captain Moroni to save the government, and the Constitution from the brink of ruin, from the kingmen of the usurper from 2017, with the sign of the beast in the forehead. So that's pretty much it. We're at an hour, aren't we? Dear God. And yeah, I'll be doing this in the dark, even though they should open up windows to get the air circulating. Ugh.